relationship is very wide. Please do not naturally immediately assume that when I'm speaking about relationships, I'm speaking about boyfriend and girlfriend. We do know that relationships pertain to basically social settings. So relationships with your co-workers, relationships with your parents. I'm gonna throw that term loosely, pick it up and apply it in the relationship that pertains to you. Don't automatically think, well, I'm single, I'm not in a relationship. Of course, we're all in relationships. We're in relationships with our parents, we are in relationships with our siblings. But of course, when I make examples pertaining to romantic relationships, I'll be sure to be specific around that. It's also not a finger-pointing session. We're not here to be holier than thou. We are fine. They are the narcissists. So we're here to point fingers and to bash. But before you point fingers, I think it's always great to first introspect. So we're going to start from that space. So as we go, it's always wise to ask yourself, because I also sometimes, ask myself, am I not a narcissist myself? Are any of these points actually, directed at me? So it's not a finger pointing session. We're here to learn and unearth this very complex personality disorder. It's also a one trait or one personality type that exists within multiple relational spaces or spheres. And what I mean by that is that you will soon realize that when you speak of a narcissist is a narcissist is a narcissist. These are the same, they have the same personality traits, but a parent, like I said, can be a narcissist, a boyfriend, females, a narcissist too. Like I remember reading Narcissism, and every time I read it in the beginning, I had a picture of a man, and I'm sorry to the male audience here, I am not sexist, but for the longest time I was just like, to me, a narcissist is a man, but that's not true. Female narcissists, parents, friends. So it's one set of traits that exist in multiple relational spheres. And we're also here to identify the space we're in. We're here to avoid the pattern. I do know through a lot of interactions and bringing quite a few narcissists in my space that even after knowing what I know, I did not automatically do better. And for that, I want to say, be easy on yourself. You might, after this session, go back to your boyfriend, who's a narcissist, who you broke up with last night. Now they're already back because of the mind games. Be easy on yourself. You're not going to switch that after this presentation. It's going to take a lot of being aware and learning to love yourself again. But we're here to learn how to avoid those patterns. And yeah, like I said, the bottom line of it all, we're here to heal. We're here to find healing. And I believe the first place to do that is by identifying something and then work towards the healing. So what is a narcissist? So we're getting into it. How can we define a narcissist? There are a lot of definitions about what it is. In different articles on the internet, there's a book that I always like to reference. It's a very old book by Daniel Goleman, who is the father of emotional intelligence and social intelligence. And he also has his own definition of what a narcissist is. But what all of these definitions can agree on is the fact that when we talk about narcissists, we're talking about people who balance out appearance versus reality. So the theme of appearance versus reality is one that I became familiar with back in high school when we did Macbeth by Shakespeare. There's always the appearance, and then there's always the other side to the coin, the side that people don't see. And narcissists are very, very, very good at balancing those out. There's always what you see or what the world sees. And then there's the true story behind who they are. So let's try and identify what the appearance looks like. So they are, I'm gonna pick all of these, in no particular order. They are love bombers. They love bomb you. So a narcissist in their initial interaction with you, they will love you like a lot, but like a lot. And it's a term that is now coined love bombing. And they do that because they are aware that we're social beings and everyone wants to be loved. And so they give you that. They give you the love, the endless phone calls, and it's just so great and fun and romantic. And if it's a friendship, you know, so close, you guys are basically like sisters already. And that's one of the tactics that they use to set the scene of what's about to go down. So they just want to give you that love so that even at times where it starts to get a little bit dodgy and a little bit shaky, it's almost hard to leave them because you remember that amount of love that was just, you know, poured out in full strength in the beginning. In the book Theatre of Grace by Vitukotela, where I made a chapter contribution, you know, for those who've read the book, I mentioned a relationship that I had back in Cape Town right after my divorce. Well, not right after, but during that time when that was said and done. And I speak about this person who was just like, came into the picture and did the things. I mean, like, yo, Hollywood romance type vibes, flowers, calls every day, every hour of the day, in between meetings, lunch at work, and that sort of stuff. And that's one of the, you know, initial traits of a narcissist, is that overly excessive love, but you're not questioning it. You're not saying like this is too much love, because what is too much love? You are taking it in, you're absorbing it, and it's just so much of it. But that's the appearance. They also are likable people. You'll see them always surrounded by crowds because they are very charismatic, very charming people. You know, even in a friendship setting, it's that chick who's just so charming, so loved, you know, after divine service, crowds, everyone is around them because they're so likable, they're so charming. And it's part of that charm and likability that kind of pulls you into, oh, I want to be friends with them, or I want to hang out with that chick because she's so like, there's something about her. She's got that thing that's so charismatic, that's so charming about them. So they're very likable. And when you start to get to know them, you even look at the crowds that are around narcissists. They never have genuine friends. It's just crowds, but not quality friendships. And we will probably unpack that later, or maybe once we discuss it. But in my experience, I've seen that narcissists don't have a track record of holding on to successful, genuine friendships. It's just a lot of crowds and ibazi, basically. And not necessarily quality friendships. They're also pseudo-intellectuals. They like seeming to be smart, but not really, you know. I'm not saying they're dumb, no. What I'm saying is that they like seeming rather than being. And because of that charisma, they can, you know, speak, you know, like these big words and sound verbose and all of that stuff. They're pseudo-intellectuals, but at that time, all of that looks like a really neatly packaged branding, we would call it in marketing. So they're good at branding themselves, like who they are. And then they have this overinflated sense of self-importance, like I'm in the room, everybody wants me, you know, because I'm so cute and that I'm so important, I'm a big deal. You know, you'll hear things like later when the relationship with a narcissist gets sour, you'll hear them say things like, or imply things like, but you can't leave me, like, who are you without me? Because they believe they are what actually makes the sun shine in the morning. And I think the toughest thing about their appearance, once again tied in with the love bombing, is that they insist that they love you. They insist that they love you. And it's usually the background of the things that they do, that even when it progresses later, say in a romantic relationship, once it progresses to emotional, verbal abuse, and then one day physical abuse, they still, but I love you, and they insist that they love you. And I guess maybe that's what eventually makes it hard or takes time to leave a narcissist or to end a relationship with them. But in reality now, so let's look at the reality. The reality is that they have a manipulative behavior. They are the kings and queens of manipulation. And once we get into the next slide, we're going to talk about those tactics. What tactics do they use to manipulate people's minds? One of them is gaslighting, followed by triangulation, probably one of the most famous tactics that a narcissist uses to manipulate your behavior, but also manipulate your mind. In reality, they erode a self-esteem. When you enter a relationship with a narcissist, you might be someone who is whole and sure of yourself and confident and strong and all of those things, but over time, a narcissist kind of takes away from you little by little. And by the time you are done with a narcissist, by the time a narcissist is done with you, your self-esteem is at an all-time low. That's the effect that they have on you. They bully and they belittle you. They have a deep sense of insecurity. They have a deep sense of insecurity. And this is so true, because behind that inflated sense of self-importance, behind that charm, that likability that we see, you can't even have a one-on-one with a narcissist, because deep down they're insecure. Deep down they can't even keep eye contact. Deep down they can't be deep. We can't sit and level together, because they are deeply insecure. And now the insecurities is a space where I think it would be even best for psychologists to help us see where these insecurities come from, maybe play it back all the way to the childhood and that sort of stuff. But I do know that as a common trait of narcissists is an insecurity that is hidden behind this act and show of being important and pseudo-intellectual and loud and talkative and charming, and everyone likes them. But at the center of all of that, they lack empathy, which is particularly disturbing, because, without empathy, what are you really? Like, are you not an animal? Like, they lack empathy. They can destroy people's lives without feeling bad about it, guilty, taking ownership, because that thing that makes us normal people feel bad by saying something to someone, or feel bad for messing up. They don't have that I feel bad for. They don't have that, oh, you're crying and now I feel. And that's why you'll see, once you get to gaslighting and triangulation, that even if you are having a constructive conversation with a narcissist and they've genuinely hurt you and you genuinely start crying, they genuinely don't care, because they lack empathy completely. So that was like, really, there's a lot to be said about narcissism, but this is what a narcissist looks like. Charming, but they lack empathy. Now, we spoke about the tactics that they use to manipulate us, and this afternoon, I'm going to quickly touch on those, one being gaslighting and the other being triangulation. What is gaslighting? Well, here are some of the phrases that you might hear from a narcissist. And all of this is part of gaslighting. And in the next slide, we're going to break it down, what it looks like and what it does, and how it is used against you. So the first phrase is like, this is why no one likes you. This is why no one likes you. This is a narcissist telling you this. This is why no one likes you, making you kind of believe that, yeah, I am unlikable. I am unlikable. A couple of years back, well, not a couple of years back, but like last year and the year before, I started losing friends, not to death, they're very much alive. I started losing friends in terms of like, we started growing apart, and people weren't calling and no one was managing the friendship, or maybe, like I said, we were growing apart or whatever. A bit of drama here with that friend and another friend. Bottom line is, by the year 2020 going into lockdown, I just had like few friends. I could count them in like one hand. And I remember this really kind of like cut deep for me, because I really, like, when I welcome people into my space, I really love them and they're my friends and I pay attention to them and I'm that person. And so when I started losing friends and seeing them drift away and we were just drifting apart, it really hurt. And I remember telling someone, I'm going to call this someone, narcissist. So I shared this with a narcissist and I said, hey, bro, like, yo, I'm so hurt because yeah, my friends are drifting away and all of that stuff. And now, it's awkward. We can't even call each other and this and this and this and that. Anyway, long story short, time goes on, and in an argument or a misunderstanding, we're having this back and forth with this narcissist, and they're saying this and I'm saying this, and we're talking about something that's not even related to what I had told them about my friends. And then suddenly they just slapped me with this line that this is why no one likes you. To just let you know, this is a narcissist making you also doubt yourself. Are you actually likable? Are you even lovable? And once you start doubting that, they position themselves that no one likes you, but I do. I kind of tolerate you. So you kind of like lucky to have me, because if it wasn't me, who else can it be? Who else can like you if not me? And the truth is they don't even like you themselves, but they pretend that they do, but their actions actually say that they don't like you. Another phrase, just going quickly into the phrases, another phrase you'll hear: stop taking everything I say so seriously. I don't know how many times I've heard this one. I'm sure a lot of people have heard, like, like they've said something that crushes, or something that makes you cringe, or something that's so painful. Then on some, sorry, you just said X, Y, and Z. Like, narcissists are very big as part of gaslighting to say, stop taking everything so serious. Why are you being so emotional? You're emotional. That's part of gaslighting, to make you feel like, yeah, but what's wrong with me? China, why do you take it so seriously? And part of gaslighting is exactly that, making you doubt yourself, doubt your sanity. Whereas you know that you have every right to question things. As an adult, you have a right to question things, to usabela things that you don't understand. But a narcissist, because they avoid conversation, they'll just throw you with something that dismisses you, like you're so emotional, you take things too seriously. And another one is, we talked about this, don't you remember, which is a phrase that they use to make you feel like, no, we didn't talk about this, but maybe we did. And maybe Ndim Lona, who can't keep track of my thinking, but they are very well aware of what was said and what was not said, but they're very happy to play those mind games. So what is it? Gaslighting is basically mind games to question your sanity. Narcissists, because they are serial liars, they are just like pathological liars. That's a narcissist. They will lie, like they will lie later, like they will lie and look at you, and you're just like, but Kangucho yesterday. And then a narcissist will look at you and just deny events. Like, I did say this, and you're like, no, you didn't. But that's part of gaslighting, denying events to make you question your sanity. Part of gaslighting is also manipulating others to see you differently. This is very, very big in friendships where a narcissist exists. So I don't know much about, male friendships, because I'm obviously not a man, but in female friendships, this is so common to have that one friend who is causing havoc. They lie, they divide, they triangulate, and that's the next slide that we're going to look at, triangulation. They triangulate, they exclude, and they kind of like create smaller cults within the friendship, smaller cults within the friendship, and manipulate people to see you differently. Because the truth is, they know the truth that you have, and the truth that you have is that, guys, this person is very manipulative. Guys, this person is wrong. Guys, this person did this, this, and that. But a narcissist will beat you to it, so that by the time you want to scream out to someone and say, someone save me from this person, everyone is looking at you like, you are the crazy one. I don't know if it actually makes sense, but those are the type of mind games that they play to manipulate people. I mean, back to the example of the narcissist from Cape Town. Shame, sorry to my Cape Town audience. I'm not saying there are narcissists in Cape Town. They're everywhere. But back to that example of the Cape Town relationship I was in, it got to a point where they were very, very, very toxic to me. And there were different forms of subtle abuse that were coming through. I was, losing weight without even exercising or dieting. I was highly stressed. They were stressing me out to the point where I couldn't give my all at work, and everyone who knows me knows how much I love what I do. My craft was killed. It was such a bad space. And the narcissist had already gone ahead of me to plant in people's minds, the friends that we had at that time, or our close circle and his family, already plant that there was something wrong with me. There was something wrong. I was the wrong person. So by the time I could run and confide in people, I just looked like an idiot. I looked like I was totally out of place, because the narcissist had already manipulated people to see me differently. They can also use your past and mental illness against you, which is absolutely sick. And how do they access that information? How do they access your past? This is how a narcissist will access your life and your past. When they come to you, remember, initially they love you, they love bomb you. If it's a friend, she's like your best friend, my friend, like sisters, I'm here for you all the way. And it's like love, 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 love. And if you are a person who is an empath, and maybe one day we'll speak about empaths, but if you're someone who is full of love and, has a genuine heart, you will obviously like that stuff. What narcissists do in the beginning is they might share a little bit of their life with you, something very vulnerable. They might tell you that, when I was young, I was molested as a child. And you might think, wow, this person is opening up to me about something like that. I must be very special for this person to open up to me. And so in return, what you'll do is you start opening up. And, in the past, I've fallen trapped to this. You start opening up, you start telling them about all of your life problems now, where you come from, your whole past, all the bad stories, so that they know that, I know you're not clean. I'm not clean either. We're both not clean. And you start, divulging a lot about yourself. But what a narcissist will do during arguments or time of conflict is bring up your past and whatever mental illnesses you may or may not have, and use all of that against you. They also rage at you for nothing, for an honest question. You could be asking a narcissist something simple like, I can't even think of an example, but the fights with the narcissist are so nonsensical. They don't even make sense, because they're just angry at honest things. You could be asking them on your way, I don't know, I'm just thinking of an example. You could be asking them, are you going to go see your mom this afternoon? Simple question. Are you going to go and see your mother this afternoon? And they could just flip it around why are you saying I'm cheating? And you're just like, no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying you're cheating. I'm saying, are you going to see your mother this afternoon? And they kind of turn things on their head, because they've got this anger that's constantly on the edge. It's like a tipping scale. It's just going to fall off and blow over. And then they refuse to talk about an important topic. And this is very true about narcissistic parents. narcissistic parents, I don't even know which is the worst, a narcissistic friend or a narcissistic boyfriend or husband or lover, or a parent who's a narcissist. I've been reading up a lot about that. So in my curiosity around narcissism, I just saw that, this thing is actually big. It keeps getting bigger and it exists in so many places. So I downloaded this book on Google Books last year called The Emotionally Absent Mother. And I was just reading it because I was obviously at that time pregnant. I was about to be a mom, and I'm trying to read like what I can do to be a really great mother. I don't mean like buy nappies and wipes, but I mean at the core of motherhood, what can I do to be a really great mom? So I downloaded this book that is titled The Emotionally Absent Mother, I think. I'll share it on Facebook. And it's by Jenna Lee Corey. Yes, Jenna Lee Corey. And she talks about narcissistic moms and how they use gaslighting, or how they gaslight their children by refusing to talk about something important. You want to go to your mom or to your parent and you want to come and address something that is important to you emotionally, or something that is the elephant in the room, or like an issue in the family that's making all of us uncomfortable. And you want to be the one to say, can we sit down and talk about this? And they just physically take you and they just refuse to speak to you. So that's one of the tactics within gaslighting. I wish one day, like in these 2:30 sessions, and now this is to you, Ash, I wish one day we can really talk about parenthood and just look at the older generation. Absolutely love them. By the way, these are our moms, our aunties, and all of that. But there's something that I will be honest and say was missing from an emotional point of view that I believe us modern parents could probably correct and do better for our kids. But this is not the platform for that, but it's just coming to mind now that I think of how parents can gaslight you and dismiss you when you actually want to come and lay it all, in front of them. And that's particularly hurtful. And then on to triangulation now, as we kind of nearing towards the end. Triangulation is now the second tactic that narcissists use to manipulate your mind. And what is triangulation? I couldn't find a quote or a dialogue or a statement for this, but basically what triangulation is picking a favorite. Picking a favorite. You know that that statement, two is company, three is a crowd. Yeah, two is company, three is a crowd. I kind of feel like that statement came from the notion of triangulation. And basically what it is the two, which are the pair, plus this one who is the black sheep, or the one that's sort of like deserted or put aside. But I'm gonna go into it, because when I think of triangulation within the narcissistic space, my mind automatically thinks of parents. Once again, parents are so guilty of triangulating. They're so guilty of having a favorite, picking that favorite, and then the one who's not a favorite must constantly live their lives fighting to be seen, shame, and to be acknowledged, shame, and to be heard, and their art to be, or their craft to be seen, because they're not the favorite child. This also happens in relationship, and I'm going to share a very funny, it wasn't funny at that time, but I'm going to share a very funny story of how I was triangulated once. But basically, triangulation is this very interesting quote I saw online. It says, it's a psychological threesome that you didn't consent to. I just felt like that that statement was so graphic, but so true and so accurate. It's this psychological threesome, and this And this narcissist is controlling everyone's mind here, but you didn't consent to it. You just found yourself in this situation where you are being triangulated. What does it look like? It's parents and their children. Parents, weigh one child against the other one. There's this one who's my pride and joy, who is making us proud in this family, who's flying the family name high. And then there's the other one, which we will not celebrate much, not acknowledge much, because maybe they do not live up to your standards of what you wanted your children to be. Maybe they're just authentic in their individuality. Sometimes I feel, when I observe parents or parenthood from afar, as I take notes now that I'm a parent myself, I'm just like, that's the mistake that parents make, where they don't let, or they don't accept or receive their children for being authentic in their individuality, because they've got this idea of what I would like my kids to look like. So now there's the one kid who is close to that vision that you had, and then there's this one who's just different. And parents do that, where you are my pride and joy, and sometimes parents are so vocal, they're so vocal, and they do this without hiding it right in front of you, and it really leaves the one who's triangulated feeling so neglected, or feeling like I can never be enough. And can you imagine how that translates in all areas of their lives? They second guess themselves if they are now in a work setting and we're all here competing for a promotion, and no matter how smart that person might be, they might just feel small because they were triangulated from a very young age, and they've always just felt like, I'm not even at that level because my sibling was always better than me anyway. And that might not even be the truth, but through triangulation, that's the message that parents have pushed. And I don't mean to dwell too much on parents when it comes to triangulation, but this is the one piece of the narcissistic space where I see parents perpetuating this behavior. And then obviously it's over-admiring of the one against the other. Friends do it too. I think, remember the time of like Destiny's Child? Come on, like Kelly Rowland's Beyonce, but Michelle, on the side. And it still exists. It still exists even as adults, in our adult friendships. It still exists. I mean, I've been in a friendship where there were 3 of us, and surprise, surprise, I was just the one who was called less. I didn't know when things would happen. People would hook up. I guess no one will tell me anything. And eventually, the one friend was over-adored by this narcissist. They were like, you told me, Sam, you are the one. Well, I was just sort of like this fairy old type thing. And so the two form this very strong bond, but they're not gonna, here's the thing that's twisted about triangulation, they're not gonna get rid of you. It would be better if they just told you, just cast the egg. They still wanna keep you here, because what the narcissist wants, they want the less adored one to constantly compete for their affection. They're not saying, leave us, it will just be the 2 of us. No, they still want you to be very much part of this friendship, stay in the friendship, but you must fight for my love and my affection as the queen leader of this friendship. And that's what triangulation is. Even with the parent example, that's what parents do. The sibling that is, or the child that is less adored, must constantly feel like, I'm trying to please mom, I'm trying to please dad, because I'm not as brilliant as my brother, I'm not as brilliant as my sister. So now I must constantly work towards getting a gold star, which is also an illusion. You'll never get one. And so we spoke about this, and like I said, the wealth of information that exists about this topic is vast, but that's where I'm going to stop today. when it comes to gaslighting and triangulation, when you read more about these things, they will blow your mind. You will basically see it. You'll start seeing it around you and start being aware of it. But now we're going to heal. And once again, I stole this quote from the Beyonce's album, Lemonade. And it's a quote by the poet Warsan Shire. It says, so we're going to heal, we're going to start again. And that's the thing with, you know, coming out of a relationship with a narcissist, or being aware that I'm in a friendship with narcissist and I'm being triangulated. You have to kind of forget everything you know and start again, to rebuild your sense of self-worth, to rebuild your self-esteem, your mind has been toyed and played with for such a long time. So we're going to heal, we're going to start again. And how are we going to do the healing? Well, this is not what this is what I prescribe, because this is what I do. But there are so many ways around this. And so I'm just going to share some of the few ways in which I have found ways around managing the situation, but also managing myself and being more aware to give me the strength to leave when it is time to leave. I will never judge anyone for falling in love with a narcissist, because no one is walking around with a t-shirt written, I am a narcissist. In fact, in the beginning, like I said, it's that love, it's that charm that don't even feel bad for accepting that. It's good to accept love. It makes you normal. What's not normal, though, is someone pulling the rug right under your feet and totally letting you fall and not being remorseful for that. So how do I heal, or how do I find healing and a way to be strong again? Through reading. I read a lot. I read so much. On weekends, I read, like, especially now that I'm a mom, I literally do not have a life. So, you know, I read. Thank goodness for lockdown, because now I'm reading even more. So read, like I said, there's so much wealth of information. Go internet, go on Google, and just Google, and read books and understand these personality disorders. Read a lot about your personality as well, where it falls within this wide spectrum of personalities. Are you an empath? What does it mean? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Also record and reflect. This is very big. This is something that I do. I own about 4 or 5 different diaries. You know, one diary is like feel good diary. In that diary, I'm not allowed to complain. I should just like feel good and give God the glory. I've got a diary, a baby diary, where I'm just recording my life with Ululibo, my son, and me as a mother. But another diary for complaining, where I just complain. And just record and reflect. It's so nice to record and reflect. You are more stronger and more aware, but also more in control of the decisions that you make. And here's the power of recording. Just as you know, I'm about to close. The power of recording is so important, because I remember in March, I was packing, getting ready to move. We live in Morningside and we're moving from Glenwood, and we're just packing stuff in boxes. And I read my diary that I had in 2020, and I had written, and I was complaining in March 2020 about a certain narcissist who at that time was very close, dear friend to me. And I was complaining. This is March 2020. And now I'm reading my diary in 2021, a year later. And as I read, I get to this, to the March part, and I'm reading about this narcissist again, and how much I was just complaining and being hurt and whatnot. And I was so disappointed in myself, to be quite honest, because March 2021, this year, I was still complaining about the same person that affected a large part of my moods and emotional well-being last year. Where is the power in that? The power in recording is the fact that I could look at that and I started saying that, Zama, you need to find a way to get out of this, because there's no way that in 2022 you'll still be complaining about the same person you complained about in 2020 and in 2021. You need to record and reflect so that you can read back your own story of where you were, a few years back, to see the growth and to see the patterns. And if there are patterns, toxic patterns that you keep repeating, keep falling for these narcissists, you can quickly nip them in the bud and do better. And then, like I said, psychology, seek psychology. It's such a, for the longest time, it felt like such a taboo in the Black communities, like going to see a shrink. What does that mean? Does that mean she's crazy? Does that mean she's lost it? No, these are people who are trained to help us find perspective. And that's the best way I can explain psychology. They're not there to give you the answers to your life. They don't have the answers. You do, but they help you navigate in the spaces in your mind where the answers are. They are there, but you just need someone to guide you, to connect the dots, to get you to that answer. So psychology is a definite must, and it's something that when I feel overwhelmed, I definitely do from time to time. And then pertaining to the relationship with a narcissist, engage less. The best thing you can do is engage less. Yes, the narcissists, they don't entertain them. They love the drama. The drama is their drug of choice. Like, drama is the drug of choice. When they fight, they want you to fight back so that now everybody's got a screaming contest. And while you're screaming, esakho isdima, siyehla, you're starting to sound crazy, but they like that stuff. And you don't, because that's not who you are. So engage less, engage less. If the narcissist is someone really close to you and you can't avoid them, or they are linked to you in some way, just engage less. It sounds like hostile, but that's the only way you can do it. That's the only way you can proceed with them in their lives and still be sane, by engaging less with them. And then accept that they're narcissists. Don't try to change them. You'll hurt yourself. There is a psychologist called Dr. Raman. She's an Indian psychologist. I always listen to her YouTube entries or YouTube videos. And she's just very honest about the fact that chances of changing a narcissist, or chances of a narcissist changing, are like close to none. It's almost impossible. Don't exhaust yourself trying to change. A big mistake with women in relationships. I'm going to change him. No, so I right, to change. You can't, right? Because you didn't create him. So how can you change something that you didn't create? Better accept that they are this broken people that they are, because of whatever psychological traumas they face in their childhood or upbringing or whatever, and accept it. The sooner you accept it, the less exhausted you can be. And the more you can start focusing on yourself, because that's who you need to focus on. It almost sounds selfish, but you need to save yourself and be sane for yourself and for people who genuinely love you, who don't want to see you go insane. And then gray rock, basically gray rock is a term that basically means engage less. What I do, I blue tick. I don't even block you. I don't give you that power that now you're in my block list. No, I don't avoid you. I just gray rock. No emotion. You start a fight, I won't fight with you. You want to win an argument, win it. You want to say something that's going to make me, I'm not going to react. I'm going to be a gray rock. I will blue tick you and life will go on. And eventually a narcissist will leave you away and go and look for the next person that they can torment, who will give them attention, which is basically what they want at the end. And then always just find peace. Find peace. If it does not bring you peace, find peace. Look for peace where peace is. And then the wise King Solomon in closing says, above all else, guard your heart. The issues of life are there connected with your heart. Guard your heart. And that's all I have. And I hope you guys have learned a bit about narcissism. And I look forward to engaging with you guys and hear your thoughts and maybe teach me a thing or two as well. So thanks. Ash, I'm going to stop sharing, and thanks again.
Thanks a lot, Zama. Yeah, we're opening up now, guys. Let's have a chat. I was thinking, as you're discussing, I'm just like, there's no hope for the narcissist. And I think that those were like the final comments that we're seeing there. So there's no hope for the narcissist, it says, but then how do we help the narcissist? Do we leave them like that? And then somebody says, why not narcissism has a gender? Gender, in a deep voice. And then how do you deal with a narcissistic sibling? Move out of the house, just asking for a friend. Bridget says, it's really even changed. Like, I even had to go and change, guys. That's how crazy this topic is. Yeah, but that was a beautiful presentation. Let's get the hands coming up. Usispusi is here. It's good to see you. Percy is here. Bushebendalo, Alicia is here. We've got two Abu Bushebendalo. The guys, by the way, we've got the ward councillor is here as well. Ward councillor Mzwandile has joined us. Chief Ntabeni is also here. We're looking forward to also their interactions. Let's ask the questions. Yeah, so Zama, I was just thinking about it. You know, you presenting this, and I mean, it's hitting home. Hey, it's really hitting home because I'm just tracing myself. And am I a narcissist? Mtanda is here with me as well, and he's equally just looking at me, and he says, "Bro, sorry, Chirizi, I'm just gonna ask that you mute yourself. I'm failing to do that from my side. Chirizi, you're unmuted, and there's a feedback. Chirizi, if you can hear us." Yeah, so Umtanda is seated here and he's like, yo, Ashley, brah, I was talking to somebody as well and they were sharing this stuff with me and I'm asking myself, am I a narcissist? And I'm listening here and I'm also thinking to myself, what the hell? Am I also not a narcissist? You know, and I'm waiting and hopefully, you know, you can get to share with us as well. I want to know, is the hope for the narcissist? Is Jesus' blood sufficient as well for the narcissist, or is that one only limited, you know, to other sins? Will we have narcissists? Can they repent? I mean, where does it even start? Is it a genetic thing? Is it just a medical or psychological condition? Is it a choice? Sisbusi, please go ahead. Sisbusi?
Hello. Oh, okay. The only way I dealt with the narcissist that I came across with which was my ex-husband, I went no contact. That's the only way I could heal. And I don't know if I should say that luckily for me, we didn't have children. So going no contact was the only way, because it was either I was gaslighted, I was trianguled, I experienced a lot of things. And I didn't know about this until I went through it. And I started also, I'm also a reader, so it helped me a lot. Because whenever I go through something, I want to know why. Why is this person behaving like this? And that's when I came across narcissism. And going no contact actually helped me. That was the only way. Because I remember 2 years after he contacted me and he wanted to speak to me, because I had read about this. And then when I spoke to him and he said he wants me back, and he started gaslighting me, and I was like, oh, he hasn't changed. So that was it. Unfortunately, 2 months later, he passed away. So I don't know what he wanted to say, but that was the only way I could heal and I could be sane again. So yeah, that's how I dealt with it.
You're hectic there. Thank you so much, Sis Busi. Tracy?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yebo.
Thank you, Zama, for the presentation. It was very informative. And I think I was just thinking and also reading the comments. What I've seen or how I've understood narcissism is it's always about that. So even if it's about them, you know, So yeah, personally, I don't know if I've experienced that many narcissists, unless maybe I am the narcissist. I don't know, but I've heard, and I've maybe friends have confided in me, telling me stories about in their relationships or the things that are happening, where they are questioning themselves, like maybe I am wrong, or hey, this person, you know what, they are all I have. So I think for me, like there would be a highlight to always look at is to see if it's friendship or relationship or what kind of relationship you're in. Is that, do you feel like are you always seeing yourself, you know, hey, maybe nyashanya, or are you seeing yourself cutting out a lot of other people in your life except this narcissist? So that is a nice indicator, because sometimes you are left you by the time you lift your head up, you had no longer have friends. This is the only friend that you have. So I think it's something that is an indicator. And as you're asking about, is there hope for a narcissist? Well, I guess there is hope for everybody, but they will need some help. They will need some professional help. And sometimes I guess it's always nice. Unfortunately, most times it's hard to self-introspect, to have self-awareness. But maybe if you were that close to that person, maybe after you have crossed the bridge, because as Sispusi has spoken, like sometimes it's better to cut yourself off, because if you keep in contact, then you're gonna listen to those things and then you're gonna believe that person again. You see? So sometimes it's better against yourself, but maybe at a later stage you can go back and talk to them and maybe highlight these points, and then I don't know, leave them alone again. Maybe you will hear it out and seek help. So yeah.
Let me, Zama, thank you so much, Tracy. Is it fine if I take all Tabsa and Ukuku, then I hand it over to you before we take more hands? Thank you, Tracy. Thank you so much for that. Tracy coming with a solution there. Tabsa?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Zama, for the presentation. I've listened also to many psychologists, and one of them being Benjamin Zulu from Kenya, speaking about narcissism and narcissist. And one thing that he definitely advises is for you to cut yourself off, because these people don't realize what they're doing most of the time. And what they do needs you to starve them of that. So if you stay away from them, you are starving that thing that they have, you know. And the only way a narcissist can realize what they're doing is if everybody really isolates them. Like if people notice this is what is happening, they might come to realize. But the only way that can be dealt with is if they really want to leave it. Like if they come across and realize that I'm like this, that's the only time there'll be hope for them to change. But he says that if you notice that you're dealing with a narcissist, stop that thing, leave them.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's my comment.
Sure. So it's another leave them there. Leave them.
Yeah.
Okay, Kuzo.
Thanks, Chief Justice. Thanks so much for the powerful presentation. So we tend to think that there are good and bad people, and that is not an accurate perspective. You don't have a sector of good people on the other side and a sector of bad people on the other. We are all good and bad. It is an issue of what are the dominant traits in your character.
Yeah.
No one is absolutely bad, no one is absolutely good. The only one who is absolutely good is God. The only one who's absolutely bad is the devil. Even Jesus himself said, there is no one who is good, referring to the human race. So I think it's important now to locate the principles that were shared, narcissism, triangulation, gaslighting, and so forth. Across the spectrum, we have been guilty of those. We've been perpetrators of those. We've been as much as victims as we've been casualties of those. I think if we venture into that territory, we're beginning to exercise mental hygiene and to be honest in exercising introspective literacy so that we don't exonerate ourselves, you know, as the poor souls that have been triangulated. You understand? So it's important that we understand that no one is really absolutely good. No one is this binary approach to say these are good people, these are bad. Yeah, it's not supported by reality. So there's a bit of all that in all of us. So we really need to look into ourselves and get as close as we can to the model that Christ is. Thank you so much.
No, Zama.
Zama, are you on two devices? I think it's Guzo. It's
No.
Guzo. Guzo, I think you're running two devices. No, it's me now.
Us.
Is it us?
Okay, hold on. Let me log out.
Is it better now? No.
No.
I have no idea what's going on. That one is not logged in now. Let's switch it off. Let's see.
Switch it off.
Sorry. Zama, over to you. Let's see if it's gonna be better if I switch myself off. Sorry. Over to you, Zama.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks. Like Aaron made such amazing comments. I'm gonna start with the most recent comment from Google and say completely agree with you. It's absolutely true. No one is like a poor victim because good and bad exists in each and every one of us. But I like what you said in the beginning, which is basically what brings us to being able to pull and highlight narcissists or the narcissistic personality disorder. You said it all depends on which trait is more dominant. And with narcissists, it is that personality disorder of toxicity that becomes more dominant than the good. So I completely agree with you in that introspection is key. You'll remember in the beginning, I did mention that this is not a finger pointing session. In fact, you know, part of your research and reading through narcissism, the first place where you need to stop at is to first ask yourself, like Ash mentioned, am I maybe I'm the one. Maybe I'm the one that possesses or is more dominant in this toxic personality trait. But I absolutely love that. And thank you for reminding us to do an introspection and to not look at things as black and white, but also realize that although good and bad exists in us, there are those, unfortunately, that lean more towards being bad consistently. And that's why we're here today, to talk about them and identify them. And they have, truthfully speaking, destroyed lives and hurt people, and hence why they're spoken of and covered a lot in psychology. And then I agree with Tracy. I completely agree with what Tracy said. I'm actually not sure if it was Tracy or the first speaker, but it's just about the gray rock that I spoke about. The best thing you can do is not feed that drama. I think I mentioned at the end that drama is a narcissist's, drug of choice and attention, and that's what they want. And when they throw that thing or start those arguments or disappear for like months and then come back again to throw something that they wish could shake you up, it's best to maintain that gray rock status and not engage. I know I said engage less, but the first comment was absolutely right. Don't engage at all, because the more you engage, the more you're feeding into that ego or that attention that they came to you looking for, and not engaging with them brings you peace, but it also kind of cushions your sanity just a little bit. Ash, you said, is there hope for a narcissist? And then you just threw the blood of Jesus there. And I was just like, oh, you see now, when you throw the blood of Jesus, obviously there's hope. There's always hope in the blood of Jesus. But as much as a lot of the psychology material that I've consumed always say, no, there's absolutely no hope. You know, they're not going to change. If change is something that is possible in a narcissist, and that's a big if it's possible, it's going to take a lot of work, because identifying that there's something toxic within you, you need to be humble enough to be in that space to admit that. And we're kind of like in a catch-22 situation, because a narcissist never thinks that they're wrong at all. To them, they are always right. To them, it would be hard to get a narcissist to get to a point where they can actually introspect and actually say, hey, I am that person. So until they get to that point, what can we say? What change can we expect from them until they get to that point? And just in the background, my son just woke up, so apologies to everyone. Hear him crying.
I see him.
All right, I want to make a comment myself. Still have an echo.
Let's move this thing.
Let's go. Abandon. Still have an echo.
Is there still an echo?
Yeah.
Okay. Zama, sorry guys, let's get other people to lift up their hands and comment, because there's a big echo coming from our side and we can't figure out. We can't have to log off. The problem is streaming, but we can't stop Facebook now. Okay. Zama, can you mute yourself? Let's see. Is it better now? Can you get? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's better now, eh?
Yeah.
Zama, can you hear us? Just give us a shout.
Is there an echo still? No echo. All right.
Okay, thank you so much for the opportunity, and thank you for the presentation. I think it was amazing. I'm still thinking long and hard about this, and you can't hear me. Oh, okay. I'm still thinking long and hard about this. So is one born a narcissist? Do you develop narcissism? Is narcissism thrown on you? Because it looks and sounds like the narcissist has no hope. He will be left by everyone. Everyone that he meets, she meets, will leave. There's no hope. And I think it's a very sad situation then for the narcissist. And I'm looking at the comments and thinking about this as well. That so we speak about narcissists outside us. The problem really doesn't seem to be with us. It seems to be everywhere else, but not here. It's not with us. We're not the narcissists. We are the ones that see the narcissist. We're the ones that can observe narcissism. We're the ones that have been triangulated, and if you've got enough gas, we were the ones that are being gaslighted at every point. So it looks like there is, and in a subtle way, if you shift that balance, we in a certain way become the narcissists ourselves. And we've got toxic behavior. And for me, whenever I hear anything being presented, it first has to appeal to me to say, okay, so Nta, maybe you're the narcissist here. Maybe you're the one that's busy triangulating people. Maybe you're the one that's having a lot of LP gas to be specific, and you're gaslighting everyone around you. And you're the main problem. Because until we see ourselves for truly who we are, we will always, in all aspects, look at everyone from the perspective of outside us. We are never wrong. There's nothing wrong with us. Things are done to us. We're always sitting on the victim's chair. There's nothing that we do to people. People do things to us. There's always something wrong being done to me. I never do anything wrong on my part. I am just a victim. It's my boyfriend, it's my wife, it's my ex, it's my husband, it's my ex-husband, it's my friend, it's my mother, it's my father, it's everything. Blaming is so easy for us here. And I don't know how we can approach this from another perspective. I see hands are popping up like no man's business. I really honestly feel there should be something that we also, the victims or even the perpetrators themselves, there's something that we're doing. I'm not encouraging the behavior of a narcissist. I think the chief narcissist that we have, I'm finishing up, Ashley, the chief narcissist that we have is the devil himself. He's pathetically lonely and going through a lot of insecurities. That's why he's going to be left alone for 1,000 years here to feel how bad he has messed up our world. But I honestly feel, let's have a proper look into our lives. And secondly, spiritual narcissism. Corporately as a church, we are a narcissistic church. I was talking to someone who's not SDA, and she was like to me, I've observed in your church that you are the walk church. You are the guys who all know a lot of things, and everybody else is not Christian enough for you. And we feed each other this information every single Sabbath. We are the chosen generation. No one like us. We have the prophetess Ellen White. We know the prophecy. We do this. It's always about us, and everybody else is not good enough except us. And so corporately as a church, we preach narcissistic sermons, we gaslight people, we triangulate churches, and it's such a toxic thing at the end of the day. I'm hoping that we can have more comments on this, but thank you so much. The presentation is wonderful. Hallelujah.
Amen. Okay, I think Zama wants it back to her. So I'm going to give it back to Zama before we take other hands.
Okay. I love it. I love that it's getting hot in here. When you started speaking about blame and that sort of stuff, I heard you completely, but I also did want us to tread very, very, very carefully in this. I am one where I don't have like a victim's mentality, like, oh, let's all have a pity party for everyone who's been heartbroken. I completely am aware, and I believe a lot of adults, especially, some of the ladies here spoke about being divorced. I'm sure everyone I would like to assume that people kind of like look holistically at a relationship to see what part they played in things going sour. But it's just always like, let us be careful before we shift the focus away from the actual problem or the filth of society and quickly question the victims and question their level of sanity. And I'm saying this because I recently, like 24 hours ago, watched for the first time that R. Kelly documentary on Netflix. And I'm not trying to say anything about you, Nta, but what I saw in that documentary was, before we got to the bottom line of R. Kelly portraying narcissistic traits in how he did things around those young women, there was a whole culture, a whole community that was kind of like shifting the blame to the victims. And it just felt like, much like how you're sounding right now, or what I'm getting from you, it just kind of sounded like it was now everyone gaslighting these poor girls because aren't you in the wrong place at the wrong time? I mean, what are you doing with R. Kelly? Why did you believe that he can make your dreams come true? Why are you here? It's almost like asking the woman who's been raped, like, what were you thinking wearing a mini skirt though? Like, I don't personally would not like us to quickly rush to that space of now questioning the victims, because we just create a community that is unfair to people who are genuinely going through the most, but we are also subtly enabling narcissists to like get out of jail free card. And we start raising these personality traits even in our generation and in our children. By no means, as a boy mom, would I want my son to, would I want to enable, certain behavior around my child by constantly questioning victims. I also don't want us to minimize people's experiences. I mean, we heard from a divorcee, other people had narcissistic friends, other people have narcissistic parents, and relationships are broken, and there were people who contributed to that. And in the bigger scheme of things, it all boiled down to one person who pushed the other, or that sort of stuff. Basically, what I'm saying is, let us not blame the one who's raped for wearing a mini skirt. Let us, before we get to, let's pull out the victims, stop looking for pity, stop looking for us to feel sorry for you. Let's just like dwell in the fact that these people exist and we marry them, we become their friends. And on the other spectrum of the narcissist are the people who fall in love with them and get burnt. That's all.
Yeah. All right. Let's hear what the other guys have to say. We're going to take it in the following order: Betty G, Patience, and then we're going to go to Sisbusi again. Betty G.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hello. So yes, thank you very much, Zama, for the talk. It's been really interesting and really informative. Unfortunately, I have to agree with Mta on this topic. It's almost like he took some of my words out of my mouth, what I was going to say. And the reason is I completely see what you're coming from, and I understand what you're saying, but I just wanted to sort of like understand what we mean by a narcissist. And I've just done a bit of background research, and also like just because it's part of the field I'm into. So I was looking at narcissism on its own, and I just thought, being a narcissist, it's a personality disorder, right? That's what it is. But then I was then looking at other personality disorders, and some of them, common one is obsessive compulsive disorder, OCD. That's a personality disorder. And we all know what OCD is people just getting into rituals, trying to do the same repetitive things because they think they're going to be safe that way. But no one ever says don't date a person with OCD. We don't say that. We've got people who've got antisocial personality disorder. They avoid social situations. We never say to them, don't date someone who doesn't, stay away from antisocial people. We have people who've got paranoid personality disorder. They are hyper paranoid about something. Obviously, with some people, it might be difficult to date them, but again, we don't shun them. We've got people that it's called histrionic personality disorder. And this is a sexual type of disorder where you have people that are inappropriate with their sexual gestures in public, or people that have got the needs to be gratified sexually. They're always dressing half naked, whatever. It's a personality disorder. So like these are examples of different personality disorders which require psychological treatment or cognitive-based therapy. Like they actually require CBT. So inherently you can't directly treat them because they're untreatable. They're like part of your personality. But we never look at these people and say don't date them or don't do that. So when I then see someone who's narcissistic, if we acknowledge now that these people are suffering from a personality disorder, then isn't it our responsibility, especially as Christians, we're on a Christian platform, our responsibility to see how we can maneuver or how we can hold relationships with people who can or might have a personality disorder? And I totally agree with the concept that even if you look at ourselves as Adventists or as Christians, we are, especially Adventists, we are probably some of the worst narcissists going. You know, like when it comes to I'm not talking about individual traits, but I'm talking about the gospel of the concept of our doctrine. It's a doctrine that tells us that we are right and everyone else is wrong. And if you look at the definition of narcissism, that's completely what that is. And then you see us also just on narcissistic behavior. One of the things is they're arrogant. People who are narcissistic, they're arrogant. They've got a grandiose sense of self-importance, and they leak excessive need for admiration from people. So what does that sound to you like? All it sounds to me is some of us here on this platform. But so now my question is going back to when you say don't engage with narcissistic people. I don't think the problem is not engaging with them. I think some people, I've got my personality, someone has their personality, and I think certain personalities go together and certain personalities don't. So if you are someone who doesn't go well with someone who is narcissistic, you're not going to thrive in that relationship, but someone else who is more tolerable might do. So that's not to say that narcissists have, like, that's why people are now saying, are you saying narcissists don't have any hope? Because we're saying don't engage, whereas they need to engage with people who will understand them or who are able to take to take them on and see, I don't know, and like deal with them. I don't know, that's just my thoughts.
Thank you so much, Betty. Betty's joining us from the United Kingdom. Thank you so much. This is why I love 230 conversations. It's iron sharpening iron. She's throwing in a twist there, and I think let's get talking. I'm listening to Betty right now. I'm reading the comments. Buhlebendalo says, no, wait a minute, Betty. I think it's much easier to date a person that is OCD as opposed to dating a narcissist, because a person that is OCD loves everything green and loves to clean. And that essentially benefits me as their spouse, as opposed to somebody that is narcissistic or other disorders that you probably have mentioned. I suppose that, and again, Zama, will throw it back to you. This is just me getting the conversation moving. There's different types of disorders that, as Betty has now mentioned, and narcissism is essentially one of them. I don't think that anybody will disagree with her. But now I think the question then becomes the involvement of third parties in that disorder, because now you've got the one disorder that you can easily live with. I mean, OCD to a certain extent is glorified. I mean, in the work environment, somebody that is OCD, they want those people. These guys are guys that aim for perfection, for instance. It's a disorder because the psychologist will say it's a disorder, but to other people, then that's a great guy to have in your team. Then you're gonna have somebody coming in there. You've got an Ashley now, then you've got a narcissist who's gonna make the environment intolerable. The moment he steps in, the attention must be all on him. He feels he's the ish, he's a demigod of some sort in a relationship. And it's quite tricky, I think, when you now speak about relationships, because relationships are a two-way stream. They're dependent on two or more parties. And the moment that it becomes centralized on one individual, then it ceases to be a relationship. And how does Ashley keep in that relationship? How does Zama stay in that relationship, which is essentially not even, it's everything but a relationship? She's there to worship. She's now there as an object. And look, that's the one side, and I still have the other side, and I'm putting myself in. I'm saying, here is Ashley now, guys. Ashley's in this program. He's a narcissist. Please help him. What happens with Ashley after this program? What must Ashley do? Must I go and take a cord, put it around my neck, and say, look, eventually everybody's going to leave me? What must happen with this guy? Patience.
Yeah. Ash, sorry, okay.
Sorry. Good afternoon, guys. So I've been listening to everyone, and I like this topic, has been going around for a while now. And firstly, I just would like to thank whoever came up with the topic and the initiative for us to even talk about it, because we know, most of the time in Black communities and in Black spaces, we don't really talk about these things that actually matter so much. And it's usually conversations that we also can't have with our parents and all that. Yeah, I was just making a disclaimer with that one. Firstly, I wanted to talk about the fact that many a times I think it might be an Adventist thing where anything that looks bad or negative, we kind of look at it from it's not us, it's them. And I'm not saying that's what Zama is saying. I'm just saying it because that's usually what happens, is that we look at people sometimes under a veil of, oh, but we are Christian, oh, but we are Adventist. And in that space, you find that a lot of people will hurt with us without us knowing, because we have this, we have this mentality of Adventism and Christianity and all these things. And basically, what I want to say is that there are a lot of narcissists in the Adventist church. And I don't want to go to a point where I talk about spiritual narcissists and all these things. I really want us to just talk about what Zama is talking about, and that is narcissism within the context of a relationship, either with your parents, spouse, sister, friends, whoever, but just with, with the people around you. And okay, so that's the first thing I wanted to say. The second one is I was touched when Zama also said whenever she read something about narcissism, she always saw a man in her eyes. It was just like, yeah, it's a guy. It must wear pants. It must just be one in a tie or something like that. It's a man, and I think it's important for us also to note that it can be either way. It can be a man, can be a woman. It's not based on gender at all. It's literally based on what Gugu said. You have bad and you have good in you, and the one you choose to lean more to decides where in the spectrum where you would be in the spectrum of personality. So, because I think I'm saying this because I have now known two people, one a lady and one a male. And the lady, obviously, she's cool. And I realized with my male friend, who also went through a relationship where his girlfriend was very narcissistic, that he's not okay at all. And I think that many a times we think that males are narcissistic, but females can also be. And it's dangerous for us to think that it can only be males, because immediately if we think like that, then we neglect the hurt that the other gender might be feeling because of the same thing. So with that, there's a lot to say about this conversation, and it's touching, it's deep, it's sad, because it also takes you to think, what happened to the narcissist for them to even get there? Because it must be a long road for one to take to even to get there. So that's obviously a topic for another day, or a topic of its own. But thank you so much, guys, for the conversation, and I really hope that we will learn something, and if we can just take it further and go research on our own if we haven't. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Patience. Sis Busi, I'm going to jump you. I just want you to take the new voices, but please don't lower your hand because we're going to be coming back to you. Kay.
Okay, guys, can you hear me? Okay. So, wow. First of all, I just want to say thanks to Sis Zama for this presentation. It is wonderful. And I love the fact that at first, before when she was setting the stage, she did say that she is not a psychologist or a therapist or someone who can speak in those terms. And I think that with all of us as well, we just need to tread carefully when it comes to this topic, because it's actually very, very sensitive. Having to label someone as a narcissist may seem very straightforward, but it is a difficult thing to deal with, But I just want to go back or respond to the first part of what Upeti has said. There are so many personality disorders, and we never say that these people should never be dated. We never tell them shun this person or whatever. And I think that there's a difference, even though I may not maybe quite be well able right now to articulate it, but I think there is a difference in dealing with someone who's OCD and someone who is actually a narcissist. Because when you look at a narcissistic relationship, there's no way you can say I will have a healthy relationship with a narcissist. I will continue. I have realized that this person maybe is a narcissist or has his tendencies, and I will try and navigate my way around them to even actually have a healthy relationship with them. It's very, very difficult, because when you deal with a narcissist, there's this part. I think it is the crucial part of the relationship. I think it strikes at the most important part of the relationship, which I believe in this case to be communication. That even with a narcissist, you cannot healthily communicate, because even asking a simple healthy question, nothing, no offense, you're not even making a statement, a question can actually result in an explosive argument. And you find, and you go back and you read the conversation and you're like, what did I ask? Oh, I do not know. Maybe Uzama will give more clarity. There's also this part where they will say, but did you see what you said to me? That made me respond the way I did. And all you did was just ask a question, right? Or say something that was totally not offensive, and this is blown out of proportion, and you become so afraid of asking questions that may be sensitive, questions that are serious, and you avoid topics that will eventually get you into trouble with this person. So I think the reason why it's best to actually not even deal with a narcissist is that once you find out that they're a narcissist, you cannot continue and have a healthy relationship, because you know that even when you are doing the best that you can, saying things right, doing things right, avoiding whatever you can, you will still get into trouble with the narcissist, because this disorder seems to be screaming, I'm out to get you. They will do these things. In other words, this whole disorder thrives around them manipulating the situation. Sometimes even when you are too loving, it can turn out bad for you, There's no way around it. And also there's this party love bombing where you are being love bombed. You feel that this person loves you. They will tell you, you are the best boyfriend that I ever had. I do not want to lose you. You're the best thing that ever happened to me. No one ever loved me the way that you loved me. And then when you look at the behavior of this person, and they start to manipulate you, and these words always come out when you say, but I don't understand how that you say these big words and say these big things, but your behavior seems to scream differently. And they will say no wrong in this, but what's your problem? I always tell you I love you. So that's what I'm saying. It's better to actually get out of the relationship, because once they do not know, or maybe when they do not know, when you know that they are narcissistic, they also have to know. That's the only way you can go forward, and the relationship cannot continue as normal. You now have to actually start dealing with the fact that they are narcissists and that they need help. And unless they see that they need help, you're going to have a problem, because narcissists, number one, they don't think they have a problem. They're always this perfect person, and everyone thinks they are perfect. And when you try and tell them something that is wrong with them, they'll always recruit someone or recruit people who agree with their personality, agree with who they are, so that you are left as this one person. We are left with this. You are left with this. You are left as one person who sees only the wrong in them, and there's nothing that you can do. The best thing is just to get out and deal with them from a different context. If it's a romantic relationship, I think this I love you too will have to actually be, you know, yeah, said. Yeah, I think that's it. That's my contribution.
Okay, thank you, Kay, for that one. Much appreciated. There are a couple of hands that are up here. So Zama, let me give you to go first, and then the hands will follow in this order. Mild Red Rose, Busi, Namaklaviso, Luyanda, Anthony, and then Kolani. So that's how the hands will follow. So Mild Red Rose, Busi, Namaklaviso, Luyanda, Anthony, and then Kolani. Okay, let's have that round of hands coming through. Then we're gliding towards the end of our session anyway. Go ahead, Zama.
Yeah, no, I'm just wondering because I think KG said it all basically. Like you took the words from my mouth. As well as I think I've been reading the comments. There is Ndom Zodwa also who kind of like reiterated what I said in the beginning. So when I set the stage in the beginning, I did obviously mention, to just give everyone context, that this presentation is for victims of narcissists. So people who have been in a relationship with narcissists in some way or the other and fallen victim to that. And at the end with the slide with the healing, when I give that prescription, I'm giving it from the point of view of one who has been with a narcissist or two in their lives. And so it's not to say, what I'm saying is shun the narcissist. In fact, the whole presentation is not even about shunning the narcissist. It's actually catered towards the victim or towards people who are in relationships with narcissists, to be able to equip them with what they can use to strengthen them to leave, but to also work on their sanity after being damaged by people with such a strong toxic narcissistic disorder. Unfortunately, I can't speak on OCD or all these other personality disorders because I have not been affected by them at all. So I'm writing from a viewpoint as an empath and as one who has been affected by a topic that I know firsthand out of experience. And I'm saying to people like me, or fellow empaths who have been affected or heartbroken or life messed up or mind twisted by a narcissist, I'm saying this is what I experienced and this is what I did to kind of strengthen myself or to have the strength to walk away. And I think there was also a mention of, you know, as Christians, shouldn't we try to help them? I don't know. I honestly do not know. That's I guess the individuals, that answer is targeted to your individual conviction as a Christian. My answer is probably one that will be selfish. I don't think it's your job to fix anyone, especially someone with a toxic personality disorder, because something that is deeply hidden in someone's upbringing, maybe, or DNA, maybe. And you know, absolutely right. We are not Bob the Builders. So my answer is going to be very maybe brutal, and I'm sorry if it doesn't sound very Christian-y, but mine is not to say, hey guys, come let us fix narcissists. I'm saying that narcissists have the power to damage people, and I'm saying let us fix ourselves, we who are left damaged. And those are the people we actually have the power and access to fixing, and not narcissists. So that's all I wanted to say, to just give context to the fact that the presentation is victims. Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, Zama, thank you so much for that one. It's a whole lot of things. I also want to say something, but I'll say it towards the end. Mild Red Rose, there you go. Mild Red Rose. Again.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
Good afternoon.
You can hear me. Well, I agree with what Zama just said. I believe that bad company corrupts good manners, just like the Bible says. I'm speaking from experience, and this may not be from, it's actually work related. I found myself becoming like my boss because my boss is a narcissist. And it's only when those who were around me when I was away from work who then pointed out that, no, you're becoming like your boss. And I was like, so I believe, yes, of course, there is hope for the narcissist, but the narcissist needs to be isolated. So at some point, of course, in that isolation, that's the time when the narcissist, okay, I quote, the narcissist gets to have a deep self-introspection and all that. It doesn't necessarily mean just because everyone is staying away from them or has to withdraw themselves away from them that they are left to die like dogs or something. But that's the point in time when they get to actually have a deep self-introspection without any distraction or any influence or something like that.
All right. Thank you, Mild Red Rose, for that one. So they're not left to their own. There's still hope. And I'm hoping that as we glide towards the end, we summarize on that particular hope where people can get help, whether it be the victims or the perpetrators or whatever the case could be. Ashley's busy looking for comments on Facebook. Facebook family, please do keep writing those comments. There are a couple of questions that come through, Zama. One of them is, I think I'm just going to read this one. This came from Umula. Before I give to the next person, I think, what is the difference between loving yourself and being a narcissist? And we talk a lot about self-love, love yourself and all that. Is that not being narcissistic? Is there a difference between the two? And how far can you love yourself to a point where you're pretty much narcissistic? Okay, who's next? Busi, go ahead. Let's have this next round. And then, Zama, you're prepared to give us your deliverables, including any questions that come through. I'll give Ashley the opportunity to work together so that he can be able to read comments on Facebook as well. All right, Spangene Busi, go ahead. Busisiwe? Can't seem to find it. There you are. Let me try and unmute you again. How's that?
Yeah, thank you.
We're good now.
Yeah, I couldn't unmute myself. Okay, I think maybe I would have loved if we had someone who was who is narcissistic and is getting help. Maybe we would have gotten a different perspective. But I have seen videos on TikTok on people who were narcissists, who had narcissistic traits, and now they were going for counseling. And some of them, there's one that I know of that he's divorced, he's owning his personality disorder, and he also agrees with the no contact that I had done. I think there's hope for people who are narcissistic. If only if they agree, they acknowledge, like people who have addictions. You can't help someone who hasn't accepted and who doesn't also want to be helped. So I think maybe that's where the problem is. Mina, I'm speaking from a victim's point of view. Going no contact was the only solution for me. Because number one, you must also, if you read about people who are narcissistic, is that their behavior is abusive. And I was suicidal now because of this person. I had lived with them for 11 months. I was suicidal, and I was trianguled with other women. He was cheating a lot. And most of the time, I was told that I'm not good enough, that he's going to get a second wife. So just imagine if we were to say, to tell a victim to stay in that type of a situation. I think the reason why some people who are victims don't like talking about this in the church space is that victims are blamed most of the time for the emotional abuse. And today I kind of felt like that, you know, now we were generalizing instead of looking at the problem, so that everyone might look at themselves and say, maybe I'm the narcissistic person here, and maybe I need help with 1, 2, 3. Instead, now we were saying victims. It sounded as if we're blaming victims for saying that they want to go no contact. We are blaming the victims for and saying that we should look at ourselves too. To me, it sounded like someone who comes here and says, I've been raped. And then someone says, maybe we're all rapists. Why don't we look at ourselves? Maybe we're all rapists. It almost felt like that. So just correct me if maybe I've taken it otherwise. Please correct me. But I felt as if it sounded as if we were blaming the victims now.
Okay, thank you so much, Bus,
Yeah.
for that one. I think
Yeah.
people will come through and comment and try to make sure they align the proper solutions to that. But I think we hear where you're coming from and very sensitive to also your experience as well. Namaklabiso, thank you so much, Busi. Namaklabiso and Busi is going to be one of our speakers, hey, on the 10th of July? Yeah, on the 10th of July. Love, marriage, and divorce, a woman's perspective. So we can't wait to have you come through the platform. Namaklabiso.
Okay, I just wanted to make a comment on the part where a lot of us, I've also been one of the people who thought about narcissism and it being put out by men. And I think it's because we live in a patriarchal society, and guys have a lot of leadership roles in families, maybe in many different spheres of our lives. So you guys the men tend to be able to like sort of portray that narcissistic character more because they are in many leadership roles, and not so that's why it's more obvious on the men's side than for women. So yeah, I also had to look at it. I also had that mind to think that men are the ones who are more narcissistic and women are not. Yeah, that's my comment. So guys, in your places of leadership, at least they should learn to show love and try and deal with this this whole thing and the stigma around narcissism and it being for men, coming from men only. Sorry, I can't speak properly.
No, hopefully you'll be okay. I know you're going through a lot right now, but God will heal you. Thank you so much, Namaklabi. So it's not from just the man, it's not gender sensitive, but it's for everyone. Leander, go ahead. We're pulling through on that one. We're gliding towards the end. Zama, just hang in there for a while. I know your child is already awake, 10 months year old, and you need to attend to that, but to just hang in there for now. We'll probably be done within the next 10, 15 minutes. Leander.
Hi. I think I wanted to ask like 4 questions, but I think some of them have been answered. So I'm not sure if I'm going to be repeating the same thing. Ne? So in your presentation, you spoke about like, personality traits that some of us need to find out the type of people we are, So like from what I know, they're usually given letters on like different types of personality traits and all of that, right? I wanted to ask that, let's say one day I go out and I try to find out what type of personality trait I have. And it turns out that my personality trait has a lot of negatives rather than positives. I don't know if that's possible. And at some point, I just say, Guti, so this is who I am, meaning that anything I do that's bad is now justifiable. How then do we how then do we make ourselves accountable? Okay, wait, I'm sorry. It's like, how then do we not make ourselves, what is this? Like after finding out the type of personality I am, how can I not use that personality trait as justification for all of my actions? Let's say one personality trait is narcissism, and I'm given narcissism as a trait, right? And then I just start telling people that the reason why I'm so mean to you and I belittle you is because I'm a narcissist. So there's nothing I can do about it. Doesn't that somewhat like form some sort of thing whereby we believe that there is no hope and it's always justifiable for me to look down on people? The second question, I think it was also asked, how do we, okay, it was self-love, right? But mine is overconfidence. What is the difference between overconfidence and narcissism, right? In the sense that you believe in yourself enough and you, because it's like there's always, we always need to have balance. It's either you don't believe in yourself or you believe in yourself too much, right? So with this question, it somewhat had other parts into them, right? How then do we not have like unbiased introspection, in a sense that if, let's say, I think about myself, I'm like, you, because I feel like a lot of people are saying, what if we are the narcissist, right? How, because chances are we're going to be very subjective and say, okay, I'm not a narcissist because 1, 2, 3. And then it seems like now we're keeping tabs on all the good things we've done and how we have not looked down on other people. And that seems like, you know, we're not narcissists. So how do we listen to other people's opinions and keep our own opinions? Like we believe in our own opinions, but we're so willing to, I don't know, how can we be flexible but stern at the same time, whereby we're fair to everyone, but we also believe in ourselves? I don't know if it makes sense. So
it does, Rihanna, it does make perfect sense, eh? The balance that you just alluded to in your question does make perfect sense. I'm hoping that we can be able to answer that and everyone can be able to answer that. Give Christian examples, biblical examples of that, maybe if someone who can let us know how they've dealt with it in their life as well. All right, I want to pull through on the next person quickly here so that at least we can glide towards the end. I love using that word, glide towards the end. Let me have Anthony. Anthony, go ahead.
Hi guys, happy Sabbath. So I really enjoyed the presentation today. There's a couple of things. I think the one elephant in the room that hasn't been mentioned is that narcissism within church. So church is a great breeding ground for narcissism, because if you think about it, look at how people fight for church positions, how people will act in certain ways within church. And ultimately, I hear what everyone is saying, that narcissism is a personality disorder. But have we ever thought that narcissism is also demonic influence? Because Satan was a narcissist. If you look at the characteristics of a narcissist, narcissists will love to be worshipped. Everything is about them, yeah? And what's even more concerning when you actually look at the boundaries of narcissism is that the line between narcissism and sociopaths is very, very thin. And the line between sociopaths and psychopaths is also very, very thin. So for example, a narcissist obviously lies, deceives, and uses other people for personal gain. So does a sociopath, yeah? A sociopath may show aggressive behavior. So does a narcissist. A sociopath doesn't follow, or narcissists and sociopaths also don't follow their own personal responsibilities. And narcissists and sociopaths don't feel guilt or remorse. So there's a very, very thin line between the two. And what we also need to think about, yes, you have narcissists within relationships, definitely, 100%. But there's a lot of elders out there who are narcissists, right? There are a lot of people within church who want to control things and use people. So yes, it's a personality disorder, but it's also demonic influence as well.
All right, thank you, Anthony, for that one. It's demonic. I think the spiritual part of things comes through. I think at the end of the day, we all at war. And one of the comments that came through is that we're not all perfect. And because of that, we need Jesus in our lives. We're talking about narcissism today, gaslighting and all that. Maybe none of us here is going through it. Maybe one or two are going through it. But there's always something that we go through that we're not even touch on today. So we all need Jesus somehow. At the foot of the cross, the ground is level. So that's what they say. All right, it's cool. my man. Then we'll end up with Kolani. Then Zama is getting ready to give our deliverables. I know the child is awake now. Oh, that's nice. And I think she needs to probably attend to Mtwana. So right now, school, go ahead and get to Kolani, and then we give it over to Zama, round it up. Now, if further discussions are to happen, they'll probably happen after Zama has spoken. We have what is called the after scenes, or after tears, depending on what you want to say, how you want to put it across. That place is where we start talking after the session is done and interactive and more. It's a free one. It's still pretty much controlled, but it's for those that really want to keep talking. That's basically it. It's cool.
Hello. Hello. Okay. Sanbonani, how are you? Hey guys. We have no idea how imbalanced we are. I'm just from another presentation on such issues, and I realized that it's been over almost 6,000 years, men affected by sin. So as a result, we are no longer balanced as people. We are getting broken by the day. And there are people that, well, let me put it this way, that like the devil is an opportunist. Can you hear me? Oh, okay. So the devil is an opportunist. So what he does is that he sees, let's say one is overconfident of himself. He sees an opportunity to destroy him through that. Let's say one has got a problem of this narcissistic disorder. He sees an opportunity to destroy a lot of people through that person. So what I would want to advise here is that before you engage or you commit yourself into a relationship, first understand who you are and understand what you are, so that you'll be able to respond to what you want or what you need. Because mostly if you don't understand who you are and what you are, you will always attract the same person over and over again. Suppose it's a marriage or it's a relationship thing. You just attract this person with the same personalities. Then after 2 years or whatever months, you divorce. Then you go again, attract the same person in a different board. You know, it's just like you always attract the same personalities because you don't really know what you are. So I think it's a good thing that you should understand yourself, because before you commit to others, because not all of us here, we don't have the same the same personalities or the same disorders. We all have disorders, you know. So the best thing is to understand you. After understanding what is you and who you are, then you'll be able to relate to others. Otherwise, you will always meet the same person in different bodies and you'll be always the victim. Not to say I'm blaming a victim here, but my point is that like we need to understand ourselves, and while putting Christ at the bottom of everything, that like pray mostly. In fact, Ellen White says if you are you want to get married, you must pray even 3 times 3 times more, because you don't know what you are getting yourself into. And lastly, is that they say if you are a parent, pray for your children's spouse when they are still young. You must pray for your toddler. You must pray for them that the person they will marry should be a good person. And also, you yourself pray for your spouse before you even meet them. When you have met them, pray for them as well, because the devil will also always get an opportunity to destroy both of you. Now imagine that you are a victim of a narcissistic person, and then now you will you don't have money to go all those counseling and stuff. And so you will live the rest of your life thinking that you are a bad person. And then the narcissistic person will also continue telling people lies about you, because this is what they do. They always make people believe that you are the bad one. So, and all that is because the devil is using both of you. So I'm thinking it is best to pray for your partner before you meet them. Pray for your partner even after you met them. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that one. Much appreciated. Let's have Zama coming through. Thank you, school. We need a lot of prayer, and I think that's something we should do. Zama, I've unmuted you. I think you need to, just give us the deliverables quickly, and then we'll have Kolani coming through, and then that's it. I know Anaska, and now you need to go. That's okay. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you so much. It's been such a heated discussion. Really, really loved hearing everyone's comments. Like I did anticipate that this would happen. You know, like I said in the beginning, narcissism is such a wide topic. There's a lot that stems from it. And there's not, one-sided view to things. So I'm so glad that we kind of touched on spiritual narcissism, which I personally think would be great to be unpacked on its own in a separate seating. But super, super, super excited to hear all of your comments. It's just unfortunate that duty calls and my higher calling of being a mom now, it has to come to the point, and I have to attend to my son. But there are just 5 things that I've noted and I've jotted down. But I'm sure you guys, as you guys continue talking, you'll unpack a lot of things. This is such a vibrant group. I know in this group, we've got psychologists as well, people within that field of study. So there's so much that I believe that you guys will continue unpacking and learn from each other, even after I log out and leave. I'm going to make these 5 comments that I picked up from everything that's been said. Firstly, we spoke about loving yourself, and that being borderline narcissism. Just as I was about to answer, one of the comments in the chat actually gave that answer for me. And it basically says you can love yourself without destroying others. I think when we look at narcissistic personality disorder as a whole, let's not take that one layer of being, arrogant or loving yourself and saying, well, I love myself too. Am I not a narcissist? It's okay to love yourself. I love me too, and I am confident. I mean, I need to be confident in the spaces that I, navigate in this life, but you can love yourself without destroying others. Aligned with a narcissist's self-love is unfortunately the ability to destroy others and not having empathy. I think that's when it gets dangerous. So by all means, be confident, love yourself. It's healthy, but you can do that without destroying others. And then the second thing that I just wanted to say, which, I'm not going to dwell too much on, lest I come across as being a little bit emotional, of which I probably am going to be. It's hard not to be emotional when we are talking about topics that directly affect our emotional well-being. But what I'm going to say is, I think we must respect a victim's experience without rushing in to question them. I'm going to say that again. I think we must respect a victim's experience without rushing in to question them. I feel like a lot of times, guys, it's such a tired narrative where we see people, reaching out and telling their stories, and then, we quickly dim their lights or just quickly focus away from the perpetrators, the people who contribute to the toxicity which exists within our communities. We're so quick to quickly move away from that without unpacking it to its fullness. And we already rush in to question the victims. I don't think that as a people, we have exhausted the topic of narcissism. I think we're still at infancy stage when it comes to unpacking this topic. And before we rush to look at the victims, I think let's zoom into narcissistic personality disorder. Let's understand it more, and then we can talk about the other side of the coin. And this is by no means, like I said earlier, saying let the victims dwell in a pity party. This presentation is not a pity party. It's actually a platform to inspire and to heal and to strengthen. But let us respect victims without rushing in to question them. Otherwise, what happens, as we see a lot, especially once again, and what we know popular around the rape culture, what we see are just victims who then keep quiet, because how can I speak out when I'm in a community that holistically gaslights me? And I'm seeing a comment that says, sorry, Zama, it's thank you, and it's not necessarily me. I'm just thinking, because I've done my fair share of growing up and growing out of that space. I'm stronger, I've healed, I've moved on, but I'm just thinking of those who are in this discussion to kind of feel like this is a place where I'm here to be strengthened. Let's just be sensitive and respectful of people's authentic experiences is all that I'm saying. And then a lot has been mentioned, and I fully agree. I just want to stress it as well, that narcissism is not gender-based at all. I think one of the ladies put it so beautifully that maybe this mistake is because we live in such a patriarchal society, but it's not gender-based. It's female, it's male. We can all be narcissistic and show these traits across gender. And then the one comment which was made just now is that the devil is a narcissist. He totally is. We know this because just in true narcissistic fashion, he comes disguised as an angel of light. And that is the foundation of narcissist seeming rather than being. The devil is not, shows no empathy at all. So indeed, he is a narcissist. And like I said, Ash, please call me if you guys, call me to listen, not to speak, to listen if you guys find a really brilliant presenter who can speak around spiritual narcissism, because yeah, that would be such a lit conversation, which I feel needs to be had very soon. And then lastly, I really, really wish we had unpacked a little bit more about narcissism around the scope of parents. In my presentation, I did mention a lot around parents triangulating their children and that sort of stuff, but I understand that we are a very young audience, and it's almost natural for us to kind of bring it in and dwell within the context of boyfriend, girlfriend, wife, husband, lover. But there are narcissists that exist outside of the lover type relationship, and there are children who are damaged by narcissistic parents. And I wish we had more time to speak about that, because I think there's a lot of healing and help that is required there as well. But luckily, we're all on social media, and I hope we can continue engaging in this conversation even after this chat. So thank you once again, guys. It's been so great. I've learned a lot myself, and I hope in one way or the other I've managed to maybe bring to light some things that someone didn't know, or kind of give perspective in a situation that someone found themselves in. And like I said, let's continue reading, and above all else, let's pray for God to give us wisdom to help us navigate these social circles that are sometimes toxic, and sometimes the toxicity lies within our own selves. And let's pray and ask God to show us those areas where we ourselves are contributing to the scum of our society. So thank you so much, guys. Gonna have to rush and go be a mom, but I would love to continue engaging with you guys on social media.
All right, thank you so much, Zama, for that one. Much appreciated. Thank you for staying as long as you did. God bless you. One question was posed to us: is there any speakers, books that you can recommend? In line with what we're talking about. If so, you let us know. I think you need to go now. So you'll probably text Ash, then we'll be able to share it with the platform here so that everyone else can get as much help as is possible. Thank you. Let's just have you. Okay, I think you can go. Ashley wanted to make a comment, like a serious one, before you left. Yeah, and
no, mine, it wasn't really a serious comment. First, it's to say thanks a lot, Zama, for pulling through. There was somebody that commented, and it hit home because I was having the discussion with Mtandazo earlier on. When I say that, because Mtandazo was asking which biblical figures can we say suffered from narcissism, and then who did you mention?
The rich young ruler.
Oh, then he mentioned the rich young ruler. Then I then say to him, well, you can talk about the devil. He was the chief narcissist if you look in Isaiah, because he speaks, and if you look at the difference between the devil and Jesus Christ, when you look at Isaiah chapter 53, the devil in I think about 4 or 3 verses, it's all about I. Then you go into the book of Isaiah chapter 53, and it's got about 12 verses. And this is Jesus Christ's narration when he's, when he's speaking to his people. And in all of this narration, there is not even a single I that you find there. It's only at the end when God then says that because of what he has done for others, then will I then reward him. But Jesus Christ is all relationship centered, and he's addressing, it's a two-way stream. We are there, he's catering for our needs. Then I then say to Mtandazo, it's quite interesting as well that after Adam had fallen, when God comes to him and he says, Adam, what happened? His first reaction was, it is not me. His first reaction was to protect the I, which I feel was quite narcissistic as well, because he feels the need to, the world is now centered on him, and he says, don't address me, go and address the woman. And then when God goes to the woman has similar narcissistic tendencies and says, no, it is not I, go to the serpent. And that's the blame game that we then see. And I feel that from the fall, when the devil entered into the Garden of Eden, he then injected a certain degree of narcissism into each and every one of us. And we're suffering from that. I mean, as you were presenting, like I said earlier on, when I turned to Mtandazo and say, bruh, no, I'm definitely a narcissist. And now having listened to the comments, I can conclude and say, indeed, I am a narcissist. And it's now an issue of saying, I think that blood of Jesus, it might be a double dosage that is needed for narcissistic people, but we will need that. We definitely need that. And I feel that there is hope. And I suppose that the hope is going to be in Christ. And if you are a narcissist, so I'm not going to be speaking to the narcissistic people that are here, the perpetrators. So you are like me and you are on the platform. And I say people will leave us because even the devil, God had to leave the devil, and the devil had to be thrown out and taken to the earth. And I say, even when I speak about people that are being abused, and I say, your prayers are not going to be answered whilst you remain in the presence of that person. You can go out and God will still hear your prayers. So if you are narcissistic, it's fine. People will probably leave us, Bazalwane. And as they leave us, let's not try now and act as though, we continue playing as if we are in the right here. They've left us. Let that be a time for self-introspection. Let's find ways to, to change our ways. Sis Busi was talking about the TikTok guy. Maybe those are people that we need to listen to. How did they overcome it, and how can we overcome it as well? At the end of the day, whereas I appreciate all the comments that came through, which is what makes this platform beautiful, I concur very much, and I'm very, very appreciative of the presentation that we got. May God richly, richly bless you. We appreciate you accepting our invitation, and we hope that the next time when we invite you, you will be there to say, here I am, Lord, send me. Asbonge Zama.
Okay, thank you so much, Zama. Good thing, go attend to the baby. We'll have a word of prayer. Go, you can go, and then we'll put the baby and you in the prayers as well. Thank you so much, family. Thank you to the Facebook family as well. Thank you for staying through. Please stay through for after scenes if you're very interested in it. Comments that probably we never had a time to talk about or make, you can come through and we can talk about it. on the after scenes. Before we go to the after scenes, quickly, let me just give the announcements, and then we have a word of prayer, then we go to the after scenes. So what's happening next week? Next week is a very important day. Again, we've got Dr. Tendekai Mahlanza, who's going to be taking us through a very important conversation, genetically modified organisms, GMOs. That's what we're talking about there. Let me just give the other 2 or 3 that are coming up for the month of June. We've got Henrietta Coupe, who's taking us through on the 26th, that's the last Sabbath of June, skeletons in the closet. That's what we're going to be talking about. So let's all attend that one as well. Then maybe in July, to kickstart our July month, which is a month of marriage, we have Zolani Mpumuche, who's going to be taking us through love, marriage, and divorce, men's perspective. So I want to make a disclaimer. We want to make a disclaimer as 230 conversations. The speakers that we bring to the platform, we speak to them way in advance. We ask them about their comfortability levels when it comes to expressing themselves in the topics that we probably want to probably have them talk about. So please be conscious that when we bring Abantu Abafana Nabo Zolani, it's because they've gone through this, is a divorced man, and is comfortable speaking about that. That's one. And we bring others that are coming through. We'll see Mam Ndlovu, Mam Nokanyo, about Ruth and also Mariette as well. They speak about what they've gone through. So we speak to people in advance. We ask them how comfortable they are. We let them know the type of audience that they will meet and everybody else. When it so happens during the conversation, the hosts or anybody else has opinions that are deviating from what is currently happening, we are not in control of anyone's thoughts. And much as we try to be objective, much as we try to control conversations, but let's allow for free-flowing conversations within a particular platform like this. Everybody thinks differently. Everybody's gone through different things. Everybody's sensitive to things differently. And we speak from the abundance of our experience or lack thereof. And so allow for different types of opinions, allow for different types of thought processes. And that's the beauty of conversation. And we will learn from each other. Sometimes we might not really be in agreement with each other, which is very beautiful as well. Sometimes we can't be in agreement, that's still okay. But we try our best to make sure that we get the best speakers, people that are comfortable, and even within the platform, everyone is comfortable enough to say what they feel and how they feel it. So that's the 3rd of July. Let me just stop there because we're going to give more announcements. If you want to follow us through, please follow us on Facebook under SDA_advertise. You can also find us on Instagram also as well. Let's pray. Let's have a word of prayer. Let's pray. Our Father in heaven, we thank you so much. So much we appreciate your presence. We're going through a lot as individuals and as your children, and we know no other person to go to but you. In this platform, there are narcissists, there are people that triangulate, there are gaslighters here. Lord, we pray that you may save us from ourselves. We are so tired of who we are as individuals. We pray sensitively for all the victims that have gone through the worst in their lives. Pray for healing because you are a healer and you're always close to those that are of a broken heart. Bless us abundantly more. Thank you for Zama. Thank you for Zama. Thank you for the protection that you've held in that family. We pray, Lord, that she may be a mother of note, and that, Lord, every time she does her motherly duties, all glory may go on to you. Be with us now as we've ended this particular platform now. We're going to go to another scene, the after scenes. Bless us more abundantly. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Amen. All right, thank you so much. Thank you to the Facebook family. We noted your comments on Facebook family. I think one of them talked about the fact that there was married to as a child with a narcissist. We also thank you for that one, Dave, for coming through and being very fair and being very bold about this. Right now, I'm going to stop the live stream on Facebook quickly.